Okay, so the purpose of this video is going to be to see if we can get new school parts on an old school bike. So, for instance, this frame is the one I'm going to be working with. This is an original 87 Haro Master, as you can tell, because it's got these stupid chainstay platforms on there they were stupid even back in 87. But anyway, I think most new school parts probably will fit on an old bike, so I'm going to try and change as many of these things as I possibly can. It's probably going to take several videos to do it because it's really hard to get parts right now, but I think I'm going to keep the handlebars. These handlebars actually aren't that old. These are Odyssey Chase VS handlebars. These are all right. I'm going to keep the handlebars. But the stem, the headset, and the fork, I'm going to try and change. I'm going to put something new on this so that I can have 990 mounts on the front and get rid of this stupid Diacomp FS83, which I call the flexi brake, because this thing just wobbles all over the place when you stop. It's terrible. Side pull brakes suck. So I'm going to try to get an Odyssey Evo 2.5 on an Odyssey fork, an Odyssey F25 fork on an 87 Haro Master. And I'm going to use a new school stem. I'm going to retire this Hutch stem. This thing has been savagely abused for many, many years. I'm going to let that go. Actually, the parts that I take off this bike, I'm not getting rid of. I'm probably going to rebuild that thing and just throw them on there. But this thing, I'm going to try and get as much new stuff on it as I can, and I'm going to start working on the front is where I'm going to begin. It's going to require a headset conversion kit to make this work. Obviously, a new threadless fork uses a bigger headset, and bigger headsets don't fit in old frames. But there is supposedly one headset that will work, and that's what I'm going to try to use. And we're going to get an Odyssey fork with an Odyssey brake on the front of this thing, and we're going to get rid of this terrible Diacomp brake. For the stem, I think I'm going to use a Colt stem, and like I said, I'm keeping the handlebars. The one thing I'm not going to be able to change is the seat post. New seat posts, pivotal seat posts aren't going to work. The seat tube on these bikes, it's too small. But that's fine. The Primo seat post is fine, and I have a good seat. This is a comfortable GT seat. It's a rail seat, but I don't care. It works. So I'm not changing this. I may change the seat post clamp. I got some other clamps laying around. I'm going to see how they look. That's an old Hutch clamp. I might use something. But I mean, as far as this from here up goes, this is all going to have to stay old. I can't really change that. But I'm going to change the front. Hopefully it'll work. I'm not going to change the pegs. The pegs are already kind of newer. KHE and Snafu, those are going to stay. And I'm keeping the cranks. The cranks are profile and the pedals are Odyssey. I won't change those. But I'm definitely getting rid of that Odyssey dinner plate sprocket. That's got to go. I'm going to get something smaller. And the other thing that's the big deal is I got to get rid of these wheels. These wheels are Alex Supra E Pro 48 triple wall. No joke, these are 10-pound wheels. And that's not an exaggeration. These wheels are 10 freaking pounds. This bike is absolutely beastly, and it's the wheels that are doing it. I mean, this thing is mad heavy. The problem is right now you really can't buy any wheels. So the minute I can get wheels again, I'm going to do that. But the other problem is this frame is only going to take 3/8. So I got to get a 3/8 axle on the back wheel too, and a lot of wheels now, they're 14 on the back, not 3/8. This one has redline hubs on it, so with 14 millimeter axles, but it works because these are like sort of mid-school hubs back when they were doing 14 millimeter slotted axles. So even though it's 14 millimeter axle, it does work in that bike. But whatever I buy now, I'm gonna have to have 3/8 on the front and the back, because you can't get 14 millimeter slotted axles anymore. I haven't seen anybody doing that. I'm also going to put an Odyssey Evo 2 brake on the back. An Odyssey Evo 2.5 brake is probably not going to work on a frame like this. The arms are probably going to smack each other because they're made for a wider back end. So you got to get the Odyssey Evo 2, not the 2.5. I think 2.5 will be totally fine on the fork, but you can't put it on the back end of this bike. Because the fork is obviously, I'm going to have a new fork, so that's not a problem. The gyro part will be interesting because I'm going to put a gyro on this, then the one that's on here, when I switch the headset, that's not going to work. I'm not going to be able to use this. So since I don't have, this is an old bike, obviously you need this lower cup because you're not going to have gyro tabs on an old frame. So the Odyssey G3 gyro should work with the new headset. So that's what I'm going to try to use. I'm going to take this gyro off. I think this will basically work. This bike should be mostly newer parts by the time I'm done, but I'll still have the original old Haro frame. It should work. This is the end of the first video, and hopefully by the next video I will at least have the headset in and the fork. We'll see how it goes.